Hello everyone, it is I MechLord, and today I am unfortunately playing Dark Magician, which got a new skill. Again, I gotta be honest, this deck was my least favorite of the DSOT format to face because of this card very specifically, Dark Magical Circle. This card basically reads, banish one card every turn from your opponent's board, which was really difficult to interact with when decks were lesser powered, less consistent, less explosive, relied more on one card that wasn't necessarily a one card starter, but could get your combo going, and was pretty hard to remove when pretty much the only quick play back row disruption was Cosmic Cyclone, which means you had to handicap yourself 1000 life points just to get rid of this card. Which, not fun. But then again, back then the deck was also playing Magician Navigation, which was also a Spell Trap negate, which the deck is no longer playing, because now we have Eternal Soul, which basically does the same thing but better, but also comes with the downside of like nuking your field if this leaves the field, which is kind of silly. Why would they create a card like that? And ever since, Dark Magician's basically been the younger, less talented brother of Blue Eyes, right? They keep getting skills that do similar things. Both of them got Battle Chronicle, but where Battle Chronicle Blue Eyes is a meta-relevant and competitive deck, Battle Chronicle Dark Magician hasn't really made a splash because, well, there's no Ultimate Fusion for the deck to use. You don't really get that much mileage of Successor Soul, and more importantly, the deck still relies heavily on Dark Magical Circle being activated and resolving in order to do anything, which is an issue. Nonetheless, we got a new Dark Magician skill, but unlike every other skill that does something crazy, this one just plays Buster Blader for you, and then gets a Poly and Diffusion Wave motion from outside of your deck to your hand. Which does sound kind of insane. This is basically 3 cards that you get for free on top of being able to normal summon Dark Magician. The end result is really lacking, you know? The game expects you to summon Dark Paladin, which is a card that was power crept before it was even released. Of course, you also get to sometimes summon, you know, the Dark Magicians, which is still probably the best thing this deck can do ever since Magician's Magic, which was also a somewhat lackluster skill despite all the text that it had. And Dark Cavalry, which was also a really annoying card to be facing in the DSOT format. Much less so now because there's less targeting removal than there was before, or rather there's more non-targeting removal. But you still have to play it. Other than that, this list is pretty standard. We are taking inspiration by a list that got Sukaga, and by taking inspiration I mean Ripped Wholesale. We're playing 3 Apprentice Illusion, 1 Dark Magician Girl for the Dark Magicians, 1 Buster Blader, 3 Dark Magicians, 2 Summoners Art to search them, 3 Dark Magical Circle to also search them and actually get this game plan going, 2 Piercing the Darkness, which does represent a minuscule amount of card advantage, Fusion Recovery, which is also card advantage. It serves as discard fodder for the Dark Cavalry or the very rare Dark Paladin, 2 Crackdowns because this is still one of the best cards in the game and we're allowed to play good cards, and 2 Eternal Souls because, well, you have to handicap yourself with this garbage if you're playing Dark Magician. As far as the extra is concerned, Dark Magicians, Dark Cavalry, the Buster Blader Fusion that we're never making except with Crackdown very specifically, Dark Paladin, rank 7s in the form of Big Eye and Ebon Illusion Magician, the former of which is really funny, the latter of which is actual synergy with Dark Magical Circle and Piercing the Darkness while the curse of several turns. And Nightmare Phoenix because we can, and Imduck because, sure, why not? So that's it, that's the deck. Let's see how it performs in the Cog Ladder. Wowee. This first duel is going to be against Fossils, an also incredibly mid and irrelevant deck that people really seem to enjoy for some reason. I don't thought it was that interesting, you know, but who am I to judge? I'm literally playing Dark Magician over here. Not the greatest opening hand, because we did not open Dark Magical Circle. Our opponent is going to set 2, activate Drag Down to Grave, get rid of the Eternal Soul. I think it was a mistake. They should have gotten rid of the Dark Magician, because this is the one card that gets my entire, you know, playstyle started. But then again, I also had the Apprentice Illusion that can pitch the Dark Magician Girl to get a Dark Magician, so I guess getting rid of the E-Soul wasn't the worst option. Anyway, they're gonna get rid of the Shell Knight, then use the Shell Knight in order to get the Gaia Plate. Then they're going to activate their skill in order to... What does the skill do again? Oh yeah, it sends the Gaia Plate so you can get a Fossil Fusion. Remember when it scales that actual, cost that you had to pay? They're gonna activate the Fossil Fusion, banishing these two rocks in order to go into Fossil Warrior Skull King. Now is also a good time to know that I have drawn Piercing the Darkness, which is a pretty funny card. It draws you a card, then it boosts your monster's attack, but that will only work against people that adamantly refuse to read, and they're few and far between. Anyway, they're gonna set 3 and pass here. So we're gonna activate Piercing the Darkness, hoping to draw literally anything that could be good to us. We're gonna activate the skill to return Dark Magician Girl, set a Buster Blader, which we're gonna flip, and then normal summon our faithful companion, Dark Magician. Why am I doing this in this order? That's a good question. I don't really put any thought into it. I guess I was like testing for back row, and I know that they probably have something that's going to be really annoying for me specifically. Piercing the Darkness draws us a Crackdown, so we draw the best card of our deck. That's pretty good. We're gonna get a Polymerization and a Diffusion Wave Motion from our skill, which doesn't really matter all that much. We're gonna fuse into Dark Cavalry. I'm trying to test for Crackdown or Compulse, this sort of back row that I can respond to. I'm gonna activate Fusion Recovery to try and get the Dark Magician and the Polymerization, but unfortunately, my opponent has an Ice Dragon's Prison, which is not only going to banish my Dark Cavalry, but also make sure that I can't get the Dark Magician. I'm gonna pitch the Diffusion Wave Motion in order to get Apprentice Illusion Magician, but unfortunately, my opponent has a Breakthrough skill, so I can't even get a Dark Magician for next turn. I'm going to set my Crackdown and hope that this is enough to win. But fortunately, because my opponent is playing a Dog Water deck, just Crackdowning their Ace monster is going to be enough for me to win, especially when I reveal that I am a superior duelist who takes up deck a Dark Magician, which will trigger Piercing the Darkness, which will result in my opponent conceding out of shame. This time we are going to play against an actually good deck in the form of Unchained, and we are once again going second, which I'm not sure if this is where you want to be with this deck. I don't think it makes much of that difference considering the deck is pretty mid. We did open Dark Magical Circle and Summoner's Heart, so that's, pretty good. Our opponent is just going to do their classic Unchained combo of getting escaped, then setting the escape, then using Aruha in hand to pop the escape, get a Sarama, and then the Sarama is going to pop the Aruha to set back. You've seen the Unchained video. You start to understand how this deck functions. They're going to also summon the Abominable Unchained Soul from their hand at the stage, which they could discard this last card in hand to pop the Sarama. That'd be really funny, but I don't think it would be very interesting for them to do so. They're going to end on Unchained Soul of Rage, the set Escape of the Unchained, and the Rakia that can quick effect pop this if it ever gets like targeted by a Cosmic Cyclone or something. So that's pretty decent. And they also have an additional card in hand that they can pitch for the effect of the Abominable Unchained Soul. That's pretty much the best turn 1 option this deck has available to it. Let's see how we do against it. So first I'm gonna draw another Summoner's Heart, get a Dark Magician, activate the second Summoner's Heart, get a Dark Magician. Then I am going to activate the Dark Magical Circle because, well, pretty much have to, but my opponent is just going to activate Escape of the Unchained on the stage and pop their Rakia, which is going to float into, I think it's Harama? No, Haruha. My bad, it was Aruha. And deny me the search from the Dark Magical Circle. So I'm going to activate my skill, return one of the 2 Eternal Souls. I really don't need to set a Buster Blader on my field. I'm not going to flip it because I think it is treated as being special summoned, so they could just go use the effect of Unchained Soul of Rage into it, which really wouldn't, be any good for me. Anyway, I am going to normal summon my Dark Magician, activate my skill in order to get Poly, as well as Diffusion Wave Motion, which is pretty good. I'm going to activate Poly using the Dark Magician in hand and my Buster Blader to go into Dark Cavalry. In retrospect, I think that was a mistake. I'm going to get to why later. They're going to try and activate Unchained Soul of Rage in order to get rid of my Dark Magician, but I'm going to pitch Eternal Soul in order to prevent that from happening. They're going to float the Unchained Soul of Rage into a Sarama. I'm going to activate Diffusion Wave Motion. They only have one monster. This card allows you to attack every single monster your opponent controls, but only with the targeted monster, and that's it. It has to attack every monster, but it also negates the effect of the monster it destroys, and I really want to deny them the possibility of floating from Aruha into an Abominable Unchained Soul, which would be pretty troublesome for me. I think the mistake that I made here was not using the Dark Magician on Fieldless material, because it's literally just sitting there not doing anything, and also emptying my hand, which means that I am leaving my Dark Cavalry to be vulnerable. I think I should have kept the Eternal Soul, whether in hand or setting it, just to prevent it from being, you know, just to prevent the Dark Cavalry from being an easy targetable monster. But then they also have the Unchained Abominable Soul, which doesn't target at all, so a tough matchup. Anyway, I'm going to do 21 piercing and have to pass the turn. This can't attack, unfortunately. They're going to Sarama setting the escape of the Unchained, popping it in order to get the Abominable Unchained Soul, which is going to non-targeting destroy my Dark Cavalry, and then they will be able to attack twice. I think, knowing this, of course, the setting the Eternal Soul play would have been the better choice, but I could not have known this. And also they have a mystery set that I don't know about, so activating Piercing the Darkness is really the top deck that I wanted, because it does absolutely nothing at all. They're just gonna close out the game, and yeah, that's a tough matchup. I don't think there's an easy way for you to win this one, considering, you know, they can just destroy your circle, destroy your Ethel. That's why it's a good deck. And last but not least, I normally wouldn't share this sort of replay, but I've managed to find the one scenario in which Dark Paladin is actually good. Well, I guess there's two with Sky Striker, but this time we are facing none other than Exodia, which is really good for us, because this deck uses a lot of spells, and Dark Paladin is not once per turn. We've also opened pretty nutty with the circle, getting us another circle, piercing the darkness, allowing us to just draw a card later down the turn. We're gonna reveal the Dark Magician in hand and return the Apprentice Illusion. I guess I should return the circle. What was I thinking? Apprentice Illusion is always useful. Anyway, I'm just gonna get a Buster Blader and get to normal summon the Dark Magician. You've already seen this animation, but this allows me to like pad a little bit and explain my thought process, which happens very infrequently. The Piercing Darkness is gonna get us an Eternal Soul, which is pretty cool. We're gonna get Poly Diffusion Wave Motion with a scale. We're gonna activate the Poly. I know what I did on Return the Dark Magical Circle. It's because I wanted to have two spells that I could discard for the effect of Dark Paladin, which I'm summoning, which Yuki doesn't have a line for, apparently. So this board is the single greatest board you can achieve against Exodia in the form of Dark Paladin, Dark Magical Circle with Eternal Soul to banish the blue boy that they're maybe going to summon and get a draw in the process. And also, if this was Dark Cavalry, you know, we can still use these as discard fodder to protect against targeted removal, which I guess this deck doesn't have. Anyway, they're just going to activate Into the Void. They're going to read Dark Paladin's effect for the very first time in their life. They're going to not get the additional draw, and they're just going to concede on the spot. What a fun game! I hope these games did a good job showcasing what the exact issue with Dark Magician, no matter which skill it uses, is. It's the fact that it's overly dependent on an unsearchable continuous spell that clogs your back row, that searches on activation, so it's vulnerable to back row disruption, even more so than regular continuous spells, and is pretty much your single best form of interaction with your opponent, which doesn't bode well in the edge of, you know, everyone having MSTs and people going back to Cosmic Cyclone because of Unchained also, and this card just being overall pretty mid. This entire archetype is just mid legacy support over and over again until we push the limits of what can be made and still cog in Duel Links, which this deck certainly can, but I mean, why would you play this when Blue Eyes is still the better option? That's kind of depressing. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about this amazing archetype that is Dark Magician that has never accomplished anything except in DSOT format, which was one of the worst formats in recent memory. That's not true. We had Tachyon, we have Sauge de Fleur currently with the Shiranui format. DSOT wasn't that bad. You know what, in retrospect, I'll say it. DSOT wasn't the worst. Even though it had, you know, people sitting on Cositus and Black Wings activating a literal end trap, and Dark Magician, of course, and Shiranui, and Ritual Beast wasn't that bad, I guess. That was just taking too much time. His entrance was fun. What was I saying? Yeah, this deck is mid. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you all next time.